4 days, 13 people were killed in the far north by Boko Haram activists. In less than 7 days, the Minister of Defense was in Babajo, in the west region of Cameroon. He went to Marwa, in the far north, to re-strategize as what concerns the fight against Boko Haram and the separatist fighters. Equally, this week was a special week as we had a historic meeting between Alassane Dramane Ouattara and, of course, Laurent Gbagbo. That was in Côte d'Ivoire. The peace talks between Ouattara and Gbagbo, is it a message, or are they sending a message equally to Cameroon and Africa as a whole? The program is the Republican debate. Good evening and welcome to this another edition. And as usual, we have men of substance, men of caliber, who have come to share this moment with us and with you over there. We say thank you for watching. Thank you for taking your time. Those of you in Kwakwa, those of you in Batibo, those of you equally in the far north region over there, we say we are very pleased to know that you are out there in your numbers watching the program at this particular time. Without any waste of time, he is coming in the program for the very first time, the third national president of the Popular Action Party, the PAP party. Of course, they call him Alphonse Nangomo Bega. I like the name Nangomo because it's not Nyangono, it's Nangomo Alphonse. Alphonse, good evening and welcome to the Republican debate.
Good evening, Mr. Kabi, and thank you for inviting me for the debate tonight. I am very happy to be here. I also want to send a special greetings to all the many viewers of Camden TV. I want to say good evening to my co-panelists, and once again, thank you for the invitation.
How is the PAP party doing?
The PAP party is doing great. The PAP party is doing great. We have been having a lot of activities going on the ground. It's actually, we are not waiting for major
elections
or elections to go out. So we are doing a lot of works, underground work, that we are not always publicizing, but we are doing great.
You people are doing great, same like I want to believe like the CRM party, because we have a militant of the CRM here with us, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement of Professor Maurice Kamto. They call him, of course, Mba. Mba, you are welcome to the Republican debate. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Tabi Clarkson. Good evening to my co-panelists. Good evening to the millions and televiewers of Cam 10 television. All I have to say is you should stay calm and see what we have for you, and not forgetting my special brothers and sisters all the way from northwest and southwest. Just stay calm, and soon the sun will rise and shine over our beloved country, and not equally forgetting about my political friends in the Central President, not forgetting about Oliver Dubumnisa, Professor Alain Fogue. Like I said, we should stay calm and have the hope that the sun will rise and shine over our beloved nation.
Your party is doing well. I know that you are in the youth wing of this political party. How is the CRM today?
Like the CRM has always been, we are one of those political parties that stand for the sincerity and truth, because we know democracy cannot be built under the foundation of lies telling. Democracy can never be built under the foundations of propaganda. So the CRM is trying all possible means to see that we first of all try our possible means to see that we revise the electoral code, because that is the tool for true democracy to reign in our beloved country.
They call him Atabon Cornelius. Atabon, good evening and welcome to the Republican debate. Atabon?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Clarkson, and thank you for giving me another opportunity once again to be on this platform. Good evening to the million national and international televiewers of our Camden television. I want to take this special opportunity to salute all my students who went in for the common exams at the ordinary and advanced level. I equally want to send special condolences to the bereaved families in the northwest and the southwest and the far north. And we want to urge the government of Cameroon to realize that we are losing souls. We are losing hundreds of people who would have meant a lot for the development of this country. We are losing thousands of people, souls that got sent to this Cameroon for development. And we think that our debate this evening is going to contribute to the change that Cameroon so desire, so that we can actually achieve that development that we wish to achieve. Thank you very much.
We want to believe that your students, they are doing great, especially as we know that the GCE marking, both at the ordinary and advanced level, are going on. Marking is where? Is Boya and Limbe? I heard something like that?
Yes, the advanced level is being done in Limbe,
okay,
and the ordinary level is done in Boya.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, without any waste of time, we shall be moving on to our first topic. But before we move on to our first topic, can we have this report? This report on Boko Haram, and especially the visit of the Minister of Defense in Marwa. The report of Bertrand Sita. The report before we come back.
The Boko Haram terrorist group has killed at least 80 civilians in escalating attacks in Cameroon's far north region since December 2020. The Islamist terrorist group has forced over 322,000 people from their homes since 2014. The group has loaded hundreds of homes in the far north region. Thus, the call for government to take concrete measures to protect vulnerable communities is in a rise. According to a November 2020 report on the African Center for Strategic Studies, a United States Department of Defense think tank, the Boko Haram's attack against civilians and defense and security forces in Cameroon in 2020 was higher than that in Nigeria, Niger, and Chad combined. To combat Boko Haram, Cameroon has deployed two military operations, namely Operation Emergence 4, made up of units of the regular army, and Operation Alpha, comprising of units of the Rapid Intervention Battalion B, the Allied Corps of the Cameroon Army. In addition to the operation, we have the multinational Joint Task Forces, whose first military sector is based in Mora and comprises 2,450 Cameroonian troops. On the whole, about 7,000 men have been deployed by Cameroonian defense forces in both operations. The government of Cameroon has never relented effort in seeking ways to restore peace and normalcy in the far north region. On the very high instruction of the head of state, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the Minister Delegate at the Presidency of the Republic in charge of defense, Joseph Betty Asomo, was in the far north region for a two-day security meeting to galvanize, re-strategize, and dish out new orders to the defense and security forces in the region. This was due to the recent twin attacks within a week perpetrated by the Islamist terrorist sect Boko Haram that claimed the lives of over 13 soldiers, with many seriously injured. The government of Cameroon has never failed to extend heartfelt condolences to the families of fallen soldiers, as well as befitting burial. The presidential couple has in all times extended speedy recovery to the wounded soldiers.
Defense has been very active these days. Joseph Betty Asomo, he was of course in Babaju in the west region of Cameroon after separate attacks of course the secessionists over there, and then he went up to the far north because of the attacks of Boko Haram. Mr. Alphonse Nangomo, can we say that this fight against Boko Haram and the separatist movements, the fight is still very much alive.
Well, thank you, Mr. Tabby Clarkson. I would like, first of all, to extend my condolences and one of my party to the bereaved families of our military who are, losing lives in these fights against, Boko Haram especially, and again the separatist fighters. But before I go to answer the question you have expressed, I'd like to say something that we have to distinguish,
before we come back to you, there is a mistake in re-strategizing. There is a G somewhere in Ledoux, to re-strategize. Re-strategize, there is a G somewhere, so please try to make the correction before you put it again on the air. Yeah, Mr. Nangamo.
Well, thank you. I was saying that we have to distinguish, the fight against Boko Haram and the fight against the separatist fighters, because in the one hand, especially as concerned the Boko Haram, this is a fight against an intruder. Boko Haram came from Nigeria, and was extended into Cameroon, and the Cameroon army forces have been fighting against this terrorist group, which is different from the ongoing fight that is between the military and the separatist fighters in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Because this one is like an internal fight, war, because those who are involved here, the actors, are Cameroonians fighting against the regime, the system that they don't identify themselves anymore with. So we have to say that it is important to make this distinction, because we might think that fighting against Boko Haram is the same like fighting against separatists. In the one hand, as concerns Boko Haram, I think this is a non-negotiable fight. All the countries in the world, take the United States of America, you take Russia, you take France, all these big countries are all involved in the fight against terror. But as concerns the war in the northwest and southwest region, called known now as Ambazonia, is different, because here, it's children of the same house, are fighting among themselves.
But at one moment we thought that the war against Boko Haram was already won.
Well,
that they were reduced almost to nothing, the activists of Boko Haram.
The truth of the matter is that at a certain point, the Cameroon army has taken over, the fight against Boko Haram, because all the incursions that we used to hear about, all the things that Boko Haram used to do, at a point, we didn't hear any more about them, because it has substantially reduced. But, like any war, when you think things are over, there's an outbreak again of violence, which, as you rightly mentioned, last week we heard about, these attacks that unfortunately cost the life of many people. So it shouldn't be, because the fight against terrorism is a permanent fight. It is not a fight that you reach a point and say that it is over, we can cross our hands and watch it. But as concerns the war in Ambazonia, I think that one is an unnecessary war that is going on. And I think we will all agree here that the solution there will not come from the military. At a point, they talked about a national grand dialogue, which in fact was not a dialogue. Many have called it a monologue between the government, because you can, when you say you want to dialogue, you don't go to the table and choose the people you want to dialogue with. Because
But just the fact that government had that intention to dialogue is already a good point.
I don't know if
It's
I
a
don't know
good
if
signal.
I would say the government had that intention, because I think this came out of a lot of pressure that was being put on the government. That is something that nobody can contest. But at least when they decided to make a dialogue, it should have been a sincere and genuine dialogue, which, for my own opinion, was not one. So, because if you see today, all this resurgence of violence in the northwest regions, we are right to ask ourselves, was there really a dialogue?
Okay. Mba, the Minister of Defense in the West region, in the far north, to re-strategize. It's important, the fight against Boko Haram and, of course, the Separatists, the presence of the Minister of Defense.
Well, Mr.
To
Tadi,
regalvanize the troops. Yeah.
having heard and seen what the minister has done, it is obvious that it is part of his function, which he is supposed as the defense boss. But if you look on these issues that is really rocking this northwest and southwest, I want to believe that there is first of all the internal problem that we have, like what Mr. Fon said, that fighting with the Boko Haram is non-negotiable, which is true. So I want to believe that the part of this, the war happening in northwest and southwest, can still be one of the reasons attributed to the recent attack. Because as we might be thinking that everything is normal, we have already put down the Boko Haram. That is how they are equally thinking, because they know, I want to believe that the best force, because if you want to look on the time interval, you discover that the numbers of troops that we have lost within this recent period is more in the northwest and southwest. So now, and that's the strategy of the government will be like, let him continue to send more soldiers to the northwest, but without thinking that there is also a gap.
That is another war somewhere.
There's another war, and the people, the Boko Haram now would think, because what they are fighting, they are doing but an offensive, they are doing but an attack. But why the military, they are doing an offensive? They know that those at the border, those are the Boko Haram, they are just there with the weapons, not even sophisticated, because most of the sophisticated weapons have been sent back in northwest and southwest. No, it is true, it is practical. Like, for example, if you want, when I try to verify, I discovered that what the soldiers are using are the M21, but whereas those Boko Haram, they have sophisticated weapons. So weapon can also be some of the reasons. That's the map.
But I want our viewers to understand. You are saying that government has sent sophisticated weapons rather to the northwest and southwest.
That is it. That is why.
Than sending to fight Boko Haram.
To fight it. That is the issue, because we need to be very practical. That is why we keep on telling the government that, please, let's resolve this issue in northwest and southwest. Once the thing you have resolved it, all the soldiers will now move to Boko Haram. You will, just by appearing in the far north, you will discover that it will be the Boko Harams. Those people will get alert, and at times it will be even difficult for them to launch an offensive attack. And there is something that I came to realize, that the government of this country is responsible for most of this our soldiers. Because if you want to ask, what are they doing there? Because this fight, the Boko Haram stuff, is something political.
Boko Haram?
Yes, I mean, most of the shows, it is not an affair of the Cameroon government. They are supposed to withdraw some of those troops and keep at the border, just to protect our border. But at times you see the launch and
Boko
attack.
Haram is a political
It is a political stuff, because in terms of election, there are some things that people don't know. In terms of election, you discover that because if the government wants to end this Boko Haram stuff, it will end it. When I say it is political, because at the end, you discover that during elections, insofar as insecurity is found in that region, most of the people that are supposed to chip in their votes, you discover that they are scared. And you discover that even in times of insecurity, like during the presidential election, we were able to proclaim it even at the Constitutional Council, that there was no election in the far north because of insecurity. But the government had to count the vote, even the result also in northwest and southwest. So that is some of the issues that we really need to, at least, because we should not just be fighting like in terms of the military. What I'm saying
is important for government to change its strategy.
On the aspect of strategy, the government know what to do. First of all, if he thinks that he loves the people so much, he loves the military, because the military should not just be fighting because they want to fight. You, at times, you need to pause and ask yourself, what is my reason of fighting this fight? What is my reason? Because these are militaries, they are families of my brothers and sisters, which they are dying on daily basis. So the government should make sure that it should try all possible means to look for something competent, or even appoint someone that is competent to resolve this issue. Because if you want to ask who is Betty Asomo in terms of re-strategizing to look for a lasting solution, even in terms of northwest and southwest with the far north, people are being appointed not based on competence but based on political affiliation. Because I know Betty Asomo is from the journalism.
We are not yet to talk Betty Asomo. He is the
we need to be honest. If we want to put, let us appoint someone that is competent to re-strategize.
Do you think the Cameroonian problem today is that of defense?
The problem is about issue of appointing who can manage this thing.
Okay.
Because if
we are coming back to Yumba. The time for us to take Atabon. Atabon, the army wants to re-strategize as to what concerns the fight against Boko Haram and the fight against the Separatists. Do you think it's important at this moment to do so?
Yeah, Mr. Clarkson, I think re-strategizing for the fight against Boko Haram and the so-called, put it in quote, separatist fighters has always been necessary. When we talk about fight, I would like it to be defined. If they are strategizing it in order to continue with an armed war, then it's wrong. Because I think they should be strategizing on modalities to bring to an end this crisis. Let me take you back a little bit. We'll talk about this Boko Haram war. It's a jihad. What's a jihad? It is a war fought by people on the religion's idea. The purpose of Boko Haram, which actually started in Nigeria in the Borno state, was to purify Islam in Nigeria and take over this Nigerian state, because they believe that Nigeria was not actually a Boko Haram.
Boko Haram is a religious war.
Yeah, that is what they believe.
Okay.
That's what they believe according to them. So they wanted to purify Nigeria and put up a state. And now it was started by Mohammed Yusuf and then later on led by Abubakar Sheku, who died in 2021 of recent. And then you realize that in the course of fighting such a war, they had a purpose. So for every war to emanate, they have a purpose. They have something they need to achieve. And unfortunately, it spilled over to Cameroon, to Chad, to Niger. And unfortunately to us, our president declared war against an unknown armed group. That was the first error our president did. We equally have issues in East Cameroon. We have the Seleka and Baraka forces spilling over to Cameroon. War has not been declared against them. I think it was not in the place for the president to declare war against them, but to move to them and make them understand that they are not part of this war. He should not have forgotten that the northern part of Cameroon is made up of Muslims. And this war, which is a Muslim war, is fought. And they understand that when you die fighting, you go to heaven, according to them. So they are interested in fighting, because they believe when you die fighting, you go to heaven. And there's a lot of misunderstanding, trying to equate the Muslim or the Boko Haram war in the far north and the North-South crisis. I don't want you to call it separatist, fighting with separatists. It's the North-South crisis, because the war in the north and southwest doesn't have a single purpose. We have federalists in that very region. We have unitary people in that very region, and then we have separatists. So it's a three-facet war, where if you were to bring the Anglophones here, who are Anglophones? Those who are aborigines of this region, not those who speak English. That's what we have misunderstood over the year. So if we have to re-strategize for the fight against this war, the strategy to be put in place to fight Boko Haram must, and I insist, must be different with the strategy to be put in place to fight the Anglophones. I want to put it Anglophones.
Two different tactics?
There must be two different tactics.
Two different wars?
There must be two different tactics, because there are two different wars. Absolutely two different wars, because those fighting, you have realized that, for example, we saw the abduction of 276 girls in Chibok. Why? Because the Boko Haram are trying to force the Muslims to understand their war, to join. But in northern Cameroon, we have seen most northerners refusing to be part of the war and supporting the military against this foolish war, to call it foolish war there. And you realize that they have used suicide bombs with young girls and destroy a lot. And let me not forget that when you are fighting someone who is not identified, it's very dangerous. Boko Haram, unlike the Anglophone crisis, they are not a uniform. So it is not a war you are saying we are going to fight them. Those who are fighting are part of you, and that's why they are able, capable, and they are very well strategized to continually kill our military. For the 2 hours, we saw the killing of 13 soldiers in Sagi, and it is going to continue until our government understand that dialogue, it's important. Coming back,
that we should dialogue with Boko Haram.
We must not only dialogue with Boko Haram, but they know those who are sponsoring Boko Haram right here in Cameroon. The government knows those who are supporting Boko Haram right here in Cameroon. The government should dialogue and probably push it. It is very clear. Yeah. It is very clear. And I think what we are supposed to do, what the government is supposed to do here, is to make them understand that the jihad started in Bono and now to do with Cameroon, so that we simply protect our boundary, so that it shouldn't spill off into Cameroon. But once we have supporters in the country, the war is going to continue. And coming back to the no-so crisis, it is something we know. The government is simply having bad faith, as long as it has been, to resolve this crisis. Let us stop fighting against our border. Before I give opportunity to the other fellow panelists, when you have a wound on your body, on your leg, your whole body pains. Once as that wound stops paining the whole body, it means that leg is dead. Let us not allow the northwest and the southwest to be a dead leg with a wound. It will mean the country is moving towards suppression.
Alphonse, you just heard Atabong saying that Boko Haram, we have some Cameroonians who are sponsoring Boko Haram. Do you share that opinion?
Well, I don't know if I share the opinion, but I've heard, like I suppose, he too, we have heard, that takes us back to what happened when it was the wife of a famous minister of this government, Ahmad Wali, was abducted and kept for a few days, and then she was released.
Negotiations
were going over. So I think he might be right there when he says that this government, knows to whom they can talk about the issue of Boko Haram. And I'd like to emphasize on the fact that I buy the idea that he just gave, that the ongoing crisis on the in the northwest and southwest region is not being solved because of bad faith from the government. Because if we don't say it here, it means that we are not being, reasonable. We are not being sensible with ourselves. Because the government knows with whom to talk. The government knows who to talk with. But it's like they have chosen the way of force and say we will do it by force and we will impose our own opinion on this issue. And from what we are observing in the field, it's very difficult, for people to accept actually that the only solution, because the government will say it from the mouth, from the lips, that yes, there's dialogue going on, we want to solve this problem, but in the facts, in the actions that are put in place, we don't see a real, willingness from the government.
But do you think that it's only the government that can actually help in combating this, be it the Boko Haram activists or the separatists in the northwest and southwest? The population too has a part to play. The population, the people.
Of course, the population has a role to play, but if we take it from the levels and degrees of involvement, I think the government has the biggest part to play. And when the government plays its own part, the population seeing the real intention, because he rightly said, take Boko Haram, you will see, for instance, in the north regions there, that the populations are involved as far as fighting Boko Haram, because they themselves, they are victims, they are a casualty of all that is going on. But see, for how long the government has been calling on the population from NOZO to come and support the military, but sometimes CRTV will tell you that the populations are collaborating with the military, but which is not true, because Instead, what we see the population fleeing from, this conflict zone to go to a place where they can, they can find peace. So the truth of the matter is that, like we already agree on this, said that, these are two different wars that we have, and how to go about them to find a solution is different. But again, the government has, the main role to play for it to come to an end.
The role of the population in helping in fighting the Boko Haram and of course the separatist movements in the southern Cameroons, the population, they have a role to play. Mba.
Yeah, Mr. Clarkson, please, I would like to first of all chip something from that before I come that. Like on that aspect of how most of the government officials are being involved in this Boko Haram stuff, which I buy the idea. Because if you see, for example, you will discover that Chad, for example, had to withdraw its soldiers. And when it withdraw its soldier, when it discovered that the issue is a political issue, he said there is no need for me sending my soldiers. Why? They are dying.
Was because of political issues?
Chad realized that it was political. So he said, rather than sending my military to be dying, that is the same thing we are telling our government to withdraw his own soldier. These are our brothers that are dying on a daily basis. Let him withdraw and keep it just to protect the border. Because now, you discover that during the reign of Goodluck Jonathan, Boko Haram never existed. So the person that knows this issue is Buhari. Buhari mastered everything. So the government now is trying to see how he can use it politically to scare away voters. Because like what I said, he is using it politically to keep on. Because at the end, when an election is being conducted, people will say that they don't want to partake in election in this area because of the insecurity, whereas the government still count the vote based on what the electoral court said, because the electoral court said in an area of irregularity, results are not supposed to be counted. But we saw that even at the Constitutional Council. So what I'm saying is the military should be very alert on this aspect of just going into war blindly. So you people need to open your eyes and ask yourself.
Are you saying our army is not professional?
No, the truth is, the army that we are having in Cameroon here is those type of army that just follow instruction. But in a democratic country, you see an army is supposed to pose a question and ask. It is a republican right. And that's the army on the other aspect need to equally sit and ask themselves that, but what am I doing? What type of fight am I fighting? Because through that, you will be able to realize and come into consciousness, not just going for a fight that at the end, you lose your life, nothing will happen. Because compared to other countries, if a soldier is, if 3 soldiers we lost in other countries, if 3 soldiers have been killed, the president comes out and declares that day a mourning day. But we have heard about thousands of soldiers killed on a daily basis. You have never heard the president that everything is going on smoothly as if nothing is happening. The soldiers, you are supposed to come up and ask yourself, what type of government am I operating? A government that cannot protect me and I'm able to protect, because we should not just be following politicians that are just put based on incompetent. So on my aspect of the rules of the population, no matter how the population keep on saying that they want to help in combating the Boko Haram or the separatists, it will never go, because dialogue has always been the best in terms of conflict resolution. At the end, no matter how we keep on killing ourselves, we must go on a negotiation table. Because now what is happening is, if the government on its part thinks of giving that position to the population, it means people are going to use it now to sell.
The population has to take part, of course.
The issue is giving it in the hands of population means it is the possibility of settling scores. Because Mr. Tabi, if I have a problem with you now, and maybe because you heard me in the past, and I will just run now to the those are things that are happening on daily basis. Yes.
When we talk of the government, we are talking of the people.
The government we are talking about the government is the people now. The people, and which there are some competent administrative officials put in place. I'm talking about the regime of Mr. Biya.
Okay.
Yes. Because, like for example, some of us might think of expressing our grievances through protest, through peaceful manifestation. At the end, you discover that we are being locked up. Like my fellow brothers there in Kuningi Central Prison, Oliver Bibumnista, Professor Alain Fogue, who simply went down on the street peacefully to say, my brother, the government of this country please handle this case peacefully, but they are behind bars. So which type of I'm telling you,
we are telling you, even if you want to protest, there are certain rules that you have to respect too.
National law, supreme, national laws at times, we have natural laws, that supreme laws that are put in place.
Okay.
So you cannot be, for example, your house cannot be burning now. I need to go and take an authorization. So those are some of the things that we really need to take our responsibility. To protest peacefully is a fundamental right, but it becomes illegal when
we are coming back to you. They time for us to take a tabong. The role of the population here is quite important. The population has to play a role to help the government to fight Boko Haram and the separatist fighters.
That is quite true, Mr. Clarkson, and I want to reiterate that when we talk about the government, in a pure democratic system, we are talking about the people, because to be part of a body put in place, governing a state, you must be voted legally under certain rules put in place. But we have a little bit of a problem there. We cannot be talking about the population taking part when issues are not platonic. What do I mean by that? Let me take, for example, let me go back to this, the major national dialogue. In a major national dialogue, when people were appointed to represent people of a particular clan, village, or culture, you realize that the role of the population was undermined. For the population to actively take part in assisting the government, they must feel their impact. They must understand that their voices have been heard. They must be able to choose their leader by themselves under free and fair conditions and send them ahead to say nothing but what they have requested. Now, most people or most of the masses in Cameroon grumble because those who are actually leading them, in this case I'm talking about elders, do not represent them. And that is why they do not want to wholeheartedly support the government or take part in assisting the government on the ground. The case is quite different in the far north, because they realize this is a stranger who has come in. They have seen how much losses they have incurred by people who are not there, and they have seen the Cameroon military assisting them. You've seen the military giving them food. We've seen the military giving them health care. We've seen the military escorting them out of war zones. This is a contrary situation in the Noso, where no food supplies are supplied to those who are already in war. Rather, the military get into the forest and attack even the innocent civilians. The government is unable to distinguish between the so-called separatist fighters from the normal civilians who are running away from war. Rather, the civilians are caught in between the war, and then they are killed on a daily basis.
And maybe that is why the government wants to change its strategy.
That's what I'm trying to say. Now, when we talk about with the help of the population, the government, if it actually wants to re-strategize, the first is to give the population their due right to nominate or select their representative and stop appointing elders who have loose fame in their region. If this is done, let me take for example, I hail from the BLM and I understand the gymnastics that goes on there. If I return to my place, I can go there at any time and my people know that I have not done anything. If the people of the BLM decide to say, okay, you, Mr. A, stand for us, this is our problem, is water, our problem is electricity, and you go on and the government say, go and talk to the people, they will listen. But on the contrary, if they appoint Mr. Clarkson to go and negotiate in the BLM, you are not a citizen of that place. They will definitely not listen to you. I think if the government has to restrategize, one thing is to recognize that the people need leaders that actually represent them. In that way, we will be able to move forward. So, just coming a little bit to this issue of war and arms, you realize that of recent, the US put a ban on armed purchase over Nigeria, because they realized that there was a lot of armed purchase in Nigeria. And I think this is the same thing over Africa. This is the same thing in Cameroon. The less developed world is spending much of their money buying weapons to fight against themselves. Okay. And I think that's a problem.
Let's take another Alphonse who has just come, because we have Alphonse here. Alphonse, bigger of the PAP party. Alphonse is the political analyst that we have here. Alphonse, this war against Boko Haram and the separatist fighters, what do you think the army should do now?
What the army is supposed
to... Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. I'm very happy to be here among you, brothers. What I have to say is that the new strategies of our national army is just the implication of local population in that conflict. Without the implication of local population, they won't be able to have good results on the field. Be it in Northwest or in Southwest or be it in far North, they need to imply local population. As far as national defense is concerned, each citizen has something to do. Men have their role to do to defend their country. Women, children, youth, and teenagers have their role to do to defend our national integrity or our territorial integrity, or to defend our country from dangers or risks which comes from abroad. Now, as far as national defense is concerned, what is supposed to be done by our national army now, first of all, is to sensitize populations in Northwest and in Southwest. Secondly, create an atmosphere of trust and confidence so that people should trust our national army, so that people should trust our government, and so that the national army or the government should be working hand in hand in order to, in order to stop bad activities that are undermining peace and social cohesion in Northwest, Southwest, and in far North. Everybody is supposed to do something to bring back peace and social cohesion in Northwest and Southwest. When we arrive in the case where in Northwest, in Southwest, there are certain members of the local population that are there to betray or give the position of soldiers to Amber Boys for Amber Boys to kill the soldiers. It's not good at all. National soldiers or national armies are there for the protection of the civilian, for the protection of our territorial integrity. It means what they are doing there, they are there for the good of the population. Population must understand it. They must comprehend it so that they may understand that army is not their enemies. Government is not their enemy. When we see the case, when the soldiers have a bedroom or a studio out of the camp.
You are talking of this atmosphere of trust.
Yes.
That people have to have trust in the army.
In the army.
How to go about it?
It's just through sensitization, through education. We need a vast campaign of awareness so that the people of Northwest, Southwest, and Far North should understand that the army, our national army, is there for their good. Let's take, for example, the cases where there are villages now where Amber Boys are beating certain villagers. Amber Boys are raping certain women that are in the bush. They are slaughtering certain chiefs, killing people in the bush. There are many people here in Yaoundé who every day will receive phone calls of Amber Boys. Send us money. If not, you won't come back again in this village. Send us money. If not, you won't. Your family members who are here in the village will be tortured, will be tormented. You see, we cannot destroy the state cannot allow this situation where people that are not authorized to use gun or to use strength to, to torture the people. This is why the army is there, to protect the population. It means population are supposed to work hand in hand with army in order to bring back peace and social cohesion, to stop that chaos, to stop that disorder which is reigning there. This is what we are supposed to do. The only fact is that when you discuss with certain people, they will just be blaming and accusing national army and accusing the government without never mentioning bad things that are happening there to through Amber Boys.
Equally committing atrocities.
Yes, we should be righteousness and equity want us.
We cannot all talk at the same time.
Yes, righteousness and equity want us to have a right report.
Okay, we have
a right report is that there are exactions in the two camps and it should be stopped.
You have given support only on one side.
The interest of population.
Each speaker will have a minute, please. I'll begin with you. We are concluding on this first topic. Each speaker will have a minute. A reaction after getting Alphonse Osamzo.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tony Clarkson, and thank you for giving me the floor after my,
namesake,
Alphonse has
Yeah.
taken, has talked about what he was talking, the population supporting, supposed to support the army in the fight against, all what is going on. I'd like to say, dear Alphonse, that you see me sitting here today, I am a collateral victim of this Anglophone crisis. And, I want to talk about it, vigorously, because I know from what I went through, through this thing, to know that, this issue, because maybe before you came in, we were talking already about the two types of war that we are having here. One, the Boko Haram, where you see in the north regions, it is obvious that the population there are collaborating with the military to fight against the threat of Boko Haram. But, contrary, when you go to northwest and southwest regions, you notice that
different.
The population, is very hesitative to, to get involved in it. Why? Because sometimes, the population find themselves caught up in, in
the two camps.
The military and the Amber Boys. Why? Because if, as a civilian, you go and you talk with the military, you are suspected by the Amber Boys to be, a black
Traitors.
A black kid.
Yeah. On the other hand, if the military see you, or because I was arrested here in Yaoundé, kept on for 2 months in jail because I was talking on the phone with somebody who is involved in the fight, in the separatist fight there in the Nozo. But do you think it's reasonable? And there are many cases, because I'm not the only one. There are many people who have been arrested because they are the brother, they are the friends of this. Some have even been killed. And in that atmosphere, how do you see the same people, going voluntarily to go and collaborate with the military, where they find themselves, being considered as targets? So I think there's something that we have to say here, and like my brother on the left was trying to say, many atrocities have been committed. There are villages, we have seen the pictures. It's not something that they go to a village, they hear that in this village there are 2 guys who are Amber Boys, they erase the whole village. And, these are situations that do not make people to feel, comfortable and be willing to go and collaborate with the military. Which is to say, Mr. Tabi, to say that if really the population has to collaborate with the military, there must be, as you were saying, an
atmosphere of trust. Yes.
And that trust has been lost so far. So that
how to get it back? How to get it back?
I acknowledge
by the
this
attitude that the army will have towards the population, because you were saying it, but this is, I would say, it's like a slogan in Cameroon when they say that the army is there to protect the population, but in actual fact, on the ground, this is not what is the people are experiencing. They are instead, when they hear the military, they are instead afraid.
We have heard you, Alphonse. Yes, 30 seconds, we are concluding on this first topic, please.
Yeah, I would like what my co-panel said. I just want him to understand that what we are now talking is just about the consequences. If we want the situation to come to an end, please, you tell your hierarchy, let him do the right thing. Let him organize and create a peaceful atmosphere, because we cannot be talking about consequences why the atrocity is happening on the ground. We cannot come here all the time talking about this person, blaming this person. We always hold the administration responsible. Because I, for once, I have tried I'm in Northwest. Just for example, I was there to talk with my militants there. The militants of Cameroon Renaissance movement. But I was being arrested. Someone that is struggling to see that he brings an atmosphere. I was arrested in Tuba. I was arrested and I was so alert that I even informed my hierarchy through the WhatsApp. That's how the message went. When the brigade commander heard about the situation, he was now panicking. Whereas all those that have been arrested at 9 p.m., they are nowhere to be found. That is the situation. So we cannot be talking about that. Let's just tell the government, please, we'll put in more effort for him to solve this thing. That will you go a long way.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
All right, Mr. Klassen, I'm very grateful. I want to tell my panelist, Mr. Alphonse, that he was a little bit, he took side with the government. And I want to tell you that on the other panel, that is very wrong. When we are talking about trust on the government should actually be active on the ground, and the government has not done that. For example, in the far north, you see them supplying food. In the far south, supplying healthcare. In the far north, you see them evacuating war victims. This has not been done in the northwest and the southwest. You don't expect the aborigine of that region to give them trust. Third, the government has forgotten this region. In the major national dialogue, they were supposed to reconstruct that region, which has not been done. Money has been dispatched, and up to the not has been done. I want to tell you that the government has bad things.
Money has been dispersed.
Money has been dispersed, the process must not. This is one of the reasons why we lose trust in the government, because it is so long. Let me tell you, a patient dog may finally lose. Go hungry. For me to end, the other side of this issue is the fact that the government recruit young, unexperienced Cameroonians and give them uniform, and they go down there with anarchy and kill civilians. In other countries, we should send our trained intellectual to go to the field.
Okay.
It has not happened. I think if one of the children or the relative of this top official were touched, this would have been solved. Okay. They are doing it because the civilians are being killed, and it's not doing anything to them.
Alphonse, it's true that you came late. We shall give you 1 minute to conclude on this first topic before we take the round. 1 minute, Alphonse.
Okay, what I have to conclude on the topic fight against Boko Haram and separatist fighters, the army re-strategizes, is that an atmosphere of trust must be built in Northwest and in Southwest by a member of government, so that the people of Northwest and Southwest should trust their army, so that a good collaboration should be seen and observed between the army and the population. This is the master key to get good result in Northwest and in Southwest in order to bring back peace and social cohesion. And the government has to be more and more present by, sustaining the population that are in sufferings, because I know my brother of Northwest and Southwest are suffering. Be it our of Northwest and Southwest, or even those that are still there, people are suffering. They lack many things. May the government do all what it is in their power to help them, to sustain them.
Okay, we have heard you. We shall now take the round up of Anne Umeko before we come back. The round up.
The Minister of Defense, Joseph Beti Asomo, July 28 started a walking visit in the far north region of the country, following the two recent attacks in just 3 days carried out by the Islamic sect Boko Haram on the defense and security forces. He was received by the governor of the far north region, Mijawa Bakari. Under high instructions of His Excellency President Paul Biya, Chief of the Armed Force, the Defense Minister has been charged with the responsibility to check this preoccupying situation that has also caused the inhabitants to relocate to safer areas for fear of their lives. Remobilizing his troops, re-strategizing and galvanizing them, and to dish out new strategies to protect the population and the territorial integrity from further attacks has been the order. His visit in the far north comes barely 1 week after the Minister Delegate in charge of defense, Joseph Beti Asomo, chaired a defense meeting in the west region after the killing of some defense and security forces in Babajo, west region of Cameroon. All efforts to help stop terrorists from infiltrating to other parts of the country. July 28, a new member was officially installed in the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism following a presidential decree. Madame Madia Julien has joined the team of the commission. She was officially installed by the President of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, Peter Mafani Musonge. The former delegate of Art and Culture for the North region, Madame Madia Julien, has much to do in the promotion of bilingualism and multiculturalism. The Angara Yanzal Ongola Trade Fair, organized by the regional delegates of arts and culture of the Central Region, is aimed at showcasing the different potentials and hard works of participants and also to promote a national patrimony. Quite satisfactory, it is an event and a golden opportunity for talented Cameroonians to show our traditional rich values. Regardless of sex, tribe or age, everyone is free to participate in the trade fair. The fair that ended on July 30th was also an opportunity to know more about the Central Region of Cameroon. The Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malashi, has received some health kits to boost health services in Cameroon, especially when it comes to maternal health and COVID-19 health issues. The equipments to stabilize patient situation before sending them to emergency units were donated by the UNFPA. The equipments will be distributed to some 54 health services intervention centers in the country. The Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonge, has officially launched the General Certificates of Education GCE 2021 marking session. She encouraged the about 7,401 GCE markers to mark for 2 weeks in 15 marking centers. This took place on July 27th in Boya and reminded the markers to be objective, fair and impartial so that the results will be a true representation of their knowledge acquired in school. Results are expected sooner to permit students to resume school this upcoming 2021-2022 academic school year. 4 persons have perished and 31 seriously injured in an accident that occurred July 28, 2021 in Backcliff, not far from Gaundary, around 9 a.m. According to a security force, the 70-seaters bus registered Littoral 653 that left Gaundary to Marwa with about 60 passengers lost control due to excessive speed, leading to 4 deaths. The injured are presently receiving treatment at the Gaundary Regional Hospital.
Many prophets who have come with, they say they actually perform miracles. Do you believe in those prophets? I begin with you, Alphonse. Do you believe in those prophets who think that they can perform miracles?
Well, maybe I would have liked Mr. Stanley Crescent for you to ask me the question in another way. I want to say I believe in God.
Yeah.
I believe in Jesus Christ and I believe in miracles, of course. But now, I also believe in, men that God used to perform certain things, like miracles. But now, I don't believe in, anybody who will come and stand and tell me he's a prophet. Because there are actually many people who have, proclaimed that they are prophets. And the Bible says, for instance, that you recognize a prophet from
their fruits.
The truth that they will say. If he talks about something and the thing comes to pass, then he's a true prophet. But there are many so-called prophets who claim they are prophets, but who tell a lot of lies, who destroy a lot of lives, who destroy a lot of families. And it's a pity because you see the people who listen to those people, and sometimes they know that this thing this man is saying is a lie, but they keep on following them, they keep on, going after them. This is where the problem is. I don't think the problem is with any prophet. And, self-proclaimed prophets, I think you are known to be a prophet from your fruit. Jesus said you will know them by their fruits. You will not just be a prophet because you claim to be one.
Another Alphonse Samsung.
I fight all these fake prophets. I know many of our fakes. in 100 people that says that claim they are prophets, 98 are from the devil. They serve Satan. They are greedy. They are just there for the money. Prophets that are running after money of the people. Come and give money. Come and give money. Fake prophets. Those that sell soil, oil, water, soaps, handkerchief to people. Fake prophets, servant of Satan, son of the devil. The people must be aware of such a thing. When you read the Bible in Matthew chapter 24, Jesus prophesied saying that at the end of the age, many people will come claiming themselves being prophet. They will perform miracles. Now, when those prophets come, they are not there to ask people to repent and to come back to God and to live a kind of righteous life that will enable them to make heaven. They are just there, bring money. I will pray for you for your deliverance. Bring money. I will pray to break your curse. Bring money. I will pray for you to have a visa. Bring money. I will pray for you to to London, UK. Bring money. No. These are businessmen in the church. They are not men of God. But true men of God are there. In small churches, they teach the true word of God. They ask the people of God to repent for their sins, to receive Jesus in their heart as their Savior.
You don't believe in miracles?
I believe in miracle. God is the powerful God, the Almighty God who performs miracles. My life, I see God's miracle every day in my life. I live through faith and I see God in action in my life. Everybody that puts his trust in God also can see miracles. No need of a prophet. The same prayer that you can do in your bedroom, in your house, each morning, asking God, give me my daily food today, and you see God providing food for you. No need to go and see a prophet to pray that God should give you food. Everybody must read his Bible, put his trust in the Bible, and develop a relationship with God, and you will see God in action.
And about a reaction too, because we saw a lady saying that she performs miracle and that.
You know, it has become the order of the day, Mr. Clarkson. I want just to take us back to the Garden of Eden, that it was the woman and the snake that started this. And the major population, there's a women folk that is causing all this nonsense. You have a woman in the house, you beat her because she did not do something right, she runs to the prophet to report. You correct your wife, you run to the prophet to report, and the prophet say, no, give this to your husband, give this to your wife. I think the women are supporting it. And then hunger has dealt with them. There's so much so that they have taken highway to Nigeria. Let us not forget that when God dismissed Satan, he did not take back his powers. Satan still has his powers. And like my brother Ali said, they still have a wrong prophet can still do a lot of miracles, but there is a consequence. I just want to tell us that the Bible says that let us observe them, let us watch, let us test them. Do not believe in all the prophets, because 90% of them, like you said, are fake. But if we have the Spirit of God in us, we can be able to test them. For I know so many people fall in churches, but I've never fallen. Maybe because I'm not one of them.
Never. Thank you. We can't fall.
Yes. Any reaction after what we saw, the video that we saw with this lady performing miracles in a church here in Yaoundé?
For me, it's not within my capacity to judge a man of God, because the Bible has made it clear that by their fruits you shall know them. So if I think if you are in any church that you think that you are not comfortable with that prophet, you have the free will to go and live. So on that, I reserve my comment.
Let's move on to our second topic. We are talking, of course, these peace talks between President Alassane Ouattara, and of course President Laurent Gbagbo. The both men, they actually met on Tuesday. It was, of course, in Côte d'Ivoire. After their meeting, can we say, because many people have been talking about this issue, can we say it is a lesson to Cameroon? Because we know how the Ivorians have suffered for almost 12 years after elections, after the post-electoral conflict in 2010-2011. Gbagbo was actually sent to prison, jailed, acquitted. He went to Belgium. He returned to Côte d'Ivoire, thanks to the collaboration equally of President Alassane Ouattara. Both men met, and now they are talking peace, and peace. Can we say that this meeting, Alphonse, is of course an example that Cameroon has to emulate?
I cannot say it's an example, but what I can say, Mr. Clarkson, is that there is a positive aspect in that gesture that the two men did. We know that a decade ago they were fighting, and we can remember as if it was yesterday when those bombing of French aeroplane was bombing the presidency of Ivory Coast. I can see that image where Gbagbo was caught like a rat and put out of the presidency. It was a shame. I was a student in political science at that time. We were shocked to see that image. But just a few days ago, we can see the two men greeting themselves, embracing themselves. It is positive. It shows that there is forgiveness. It shows that peace is beyond all the political interest. It shows that mistake would have happened can happen in the past, and in the future, the two men make up their minds and say it's better to unite our forces to build a country. But at the same time, I say that I also know that politics is the phenomenon of image. President Ouattara, a decade ago, did things that were not accepted by many Ivorians and Africans when Gbagbo was caught and brought to
so the ICJ.
Yes, but today, after his mandate, or at the end of his mandate today, the phenomenon of image in politics advised him to show to the Ivorians that he's not only that man of war, that he can also make peace with the enemy of yesterday. To Mr. Gbagbo, politically also, he's also building his image, an image which shows that despite the wrong things that he received from President Ouattara, he is able to forgive. He is able to come and see the enemy of yesterday, to embrace him. Whatever the case, be it for Gbagbo or be it for Ouattara, each of them is earning some points. And each of them is
it a lesson to Cameroon, given that we know that we are...
Is it a lesson to Cameroon?
We are in conflicts presently.
Yes, if we see what is happening to Cameroon now, it is a lesson. We cannot deny that. It is a lesson. Each of us want to see all the actors of socio-political conflict of Cameroon seated around the same table, talking together, embracing themselves, and going beyond how do we say it, beyond the interests that are dividing them, and see how they can work together in order to build a new Cameroon, a new Cameroon where everybody will feel fine at home, where everybody will feel in peace, where everybody will be okay with the governance, where everybody will be okay with the...
We can talk of a new beginning in Cote d'Ivoire.
Of a new beginning.
In Cote d'Ivoire today.
It is a symbol of a new beginning in Cote d'Ivoire today. I also strongly believe that Cameroon needs that new beginning. We need that new beginning here. And that new beginning starts with a dialogue, with such an image.
We need that new beginning. Akabon, do you share that opinion that the peace talks, Ouattara Gbagbo, is a lesson to Cameroon?
Yes, I hope that it will be a lesson. Let me put it hope, because the government we have in place is one that understands political gymnastics very well. And most often it uses silence and political techniques to silence its opponents or issues. Just like, I want to go back to saying, the major national dialogue, as we look at it, was another political gymnastic to calm down the tension of the and because nothing has actually come out of it, let me say that, to what was being expected. I'm praying that it will, I put myself, will be a lesson, because the heart of man is desperately wicked. And for Gbagbo and Ouattara, I want to pray that it be, let this continue. They shouldn't have another secondary gender, so that to pull the enemy close so as to strike. I want us to watch until it is over. We will not believe it. But I believe that if Cameroon can learn from it, it's going to be of essence. And I hope Cameroon had an opportunity once when Mr. President, His Excellency President Paul Biya, invited Nijon Fundi to the Unity Palace. Yeah. And I hope there was going to be continuity. When I watched that video when Mr. Fundi tabled a file to him, I was believing that there was going to be another column so that discussions could continue. But as I see, since discussion did not continue, it prepared a fertile ground for the 2016 crisis that began. If we want to learn from it, let us be able to forgive, as the Bible says. If we are able to forgive from our heart, we will be able to make it.
Even the separatists too, they have to forgive.
That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying.
In the northwest and southwest,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Let the Father tender the hand. We realize that
if Alphonse was in jail, he has to forgive.
He has to forgive. If Ouattara did not give an open hand for Boko to come back, he wouldn't. So we are thinking that let our Father, who want to believe that is peaceful in court, should show a hand so that most of these people should come out. And I believe that war can never bring a solution.
We know that,
let everybody put down the arms. Let everybody put behind his arrogance. Everybody put behind the grievances. We put behind those that are dead. Because my father used to say the same in the Bangwa land, that we don't count corpses when talking about peace. We don't count corpses because somebody must have killed more than the other. So when you count one corpse and you count yours, we will never solve it. Let us put behind our grievances. Let us come together. I'm hoping one day that I will see Siseko on the table. I will see Nijon Fundi. I will see other separatist fighters on the table with our president to say, no, let us have a sincere dialogue. A dialogue without premeditated ideas, because I think this is what kills dialogue. When you invite people and you appoint people to come for a dialogue, or you present them what to discuss on. If we can meet on the table and people give their ideas, not what you bring, we'll have a peace.
Okay, we have already at
hopefully that peace comes.
Alphonse, can you forgive?
Well, I want to assure you, Mr. Tabi Clausen, that I have forgiven already.
Thank God.
And if I'm standing here, it's actually because I have forgiven. But I have made up my mind that this thing should not go on again. Like the Jews during the Second World War. They were killed. They were the target of this Nazi
1939, 1945.
That killed more than 10 million of them. They decided never again. I've made up my mind that I will not stand any injustice, because it's one thing to say I have gone through this, but there are many people who find themselves in jail, in custody, out of mere injustice, and we shouldn't allow those things, to go on, because when there is no justice, there can be no true peace. If we really want peace, we have to make sure that people are comfortable in their position, in their places, and for the question you asked about what is going on, is it a lesson to Cameroon? What happened
between Ouattara
and Gbagbo? I want to say yes and no. Yes, because my co-panelists, they also talked about me. I've already said it. It shows that politics is is a process where we have to put in appeasement. Sometimes we might not be we might be at the longer heads at a point. We come back to sit together. We even share a meal or a drink together. But I'll also say no, it's not a lesson to Cameroon, because what has happened in Côte d'Ivoire has not happened in Cameroon. The regime in place in Cameroon has been there for 40 years.
It has never been challenged.
It has never been challenged. Let's wait, for instance, maybe when Mr. Biya will not be there, to see what would happen. But what has happened in Côte d'Ivoire should be a lesson to show us that we should not wait for things like that to happen before we take knowledge that we can avoid those things. Because actually, 10 years down the line, you see what Mr. Ouattara is doing is for me, it's very noble. He would have said, well, I will not accept this man to come here. But let's talk about Cameroon. If you want to talk of Cameroon, where's the corpse of our former president?
Maybe those are some of the things that we need to
reconcile. Those are things that we have to talk about here in Cameroon. That's the father of the nation, Mr. Aijo. He's the first president. No matter what he did, but he's like he's an heritage of Cameroon.
He's just like the first one in Côte d'Ivoire.
So I think it should be a lesson to Cameroon, because we should think, because a lot of things are doing in Cameroon with contempt. People who are in place, they look down on the others like you guys will never get here, and the way they interact with them shows that they are not in the logic that they know that the power can change hand one day. And that's why I'm saying that yes, it can be a lesson for us, because what is happening that your neighbors should
also be of concern to you.
Should be a concern to you.
Of course, the good news here is that Alphonse Nangomo has forgiven. He has
Thank God for that.
That's the good news here. Raoul Mba, what is your take on that? Do you think the Ouattara Gbagbo peace talks is a lesson to Cameroon?
Yes, Ouattara Gbagbo's peace talk is a lesson to Cameroon, and not only Cameroon but to other African nations. Because if you want to look, you discover that there is that similarity between what happened between the post-electoral crisis in 2010 to 11 and the present context between the 2018 presidential election. So now the issue is, I am on the point that the government should see that as a lesson to open that hand for somebody like Professor Maurice Kamto. Because that is something that we might be taking it normally, because the government might think that he has silenced Professor Maurice Kamto because he has been down. You should be very careful and avoid instances, because now if it happens that we are going now for peaceful manifestation, which of course it must be done. The fact that we are silent does not mean we are not going for a peaceful manifestation.
Must you always go out?
We are going. That is the only means.
Go out to protest.
That is the only means.
Must you always go out to protest?
Mr. Tabi, please let me talk. That is the only means which Cameroonians can exercise their fundamental grievances. So, and if we go in for that peaceful manifestation, it is obvious that the population from other regions, those that have their other differences, grievances, must come, and looting must take place, killings must take place, rendering people homeless because people might take advantage over it. So what I am saying is, it should be a lesson for something to be avoided by the head of Mr. Biya to invite Professor Maurice Kamto, because that is someone that even when he left prison,
so
he said he is calling. I'm talking about the CRM. He is the head of the CRM. Let him open
president.
Let him open
so
that
if Maurice Kamto is invited, there will be peace in Cameroon?
The proposal of the CRM are most of the proposals that the people of both, that's all the population in the country are crying. We have been able to target all the pertinent issues that are affecting our nation. So I think he as the head, because the CRM has been a household name. And now for the government to see that as a lesson learned, what the government is doing is, he is thinking that trying to create other political parties to discredit CRM is a solution. The government needs to be very watchful.
Do you know some of those political parties?
I am saying, yes.
You are talking about.
I am the PAP. We share the same ideology with the PAP. What I am saying is, they should be very watchful.
We are coming back to you.
We should not allow.
We are coming back to you, Mba. The time for us to take this interview of the Ivorian ambassador to Cameroon. He was talking about the meeting, Laurent Gbagbo, and of course Alassane Dramane Ouattara. The ambassador.
In Africa, our countries encounter a lot of problems, and we are convinced that if you put emphasis on dialogue, you will reach a lot of things, because frustration is not good for our process. Frustration is not good for many countries, many citizens. It is the reason why sometimes you have to take time to listen our people and to try to finalize something in order to avoid misunderstanding and war. This is this reason we think the symbolism we are giving to African countries is high.
Let's hope for peace to be there in 2021.
We are convinced the peace process is ongoing.
The ambassador just made mention of the fact that frustration can lead people to do bad things. He also said of the necessity to dialogue. Do you share that opinion, Alphonse Osanzo?
Yes, I share that. I share the opinion of the Ivorian ambassadors in Cameroon. You know, the problem of Northwest and Southwest is the problem of frustration. As I told you here once a day, when I discussed with Amber Boys, I told them that I know that you are frustrated, but you are not the only Cameroonian who are frustrated. Young Cameroonian of 10 regions are frustrated. We all are frustrated, but the only fact is that you have chosen another method that we have not chosen. Frustration leads people to do bad things. When you are frustrated and you want to express your frustration and nobody is there to receive you or to listen to you or despises you, it will just push you to foolishness. This is how it works. Now, the only way to bring back peace and social cohesion or to build sustainable peace is only through dialogue. We cannot bring back sustainable peace through war or through armed conflict or through tension or dissension. No. We can only build sustainable peace through dialogue. We need to sit down in this country. We need to see the reason that brought people to frustration. We need to readjust certain things that were wrong, strategies of governance that were wrong, that brought the people to get into frustration, and see how to heal the frustration in heart of Cameroonian, to heal the heart of people of Northwest, Southwest, far north, north, eastern region, west, everywhere. We need to do it. We need that meeting of national reconciliation where each person will have the floor to tell what he has in his heart, and at the end, each person asks for forgiveness, as what we are doing, saying now in Ivory Coast, so that people should forgive themselves and come back to sustainable peace.
Frustration and dialogue, those are the words of the Ivorian ambassador, and the importance of these peace talks between Babo and of course Ouattara. He said it's a lesson to other African countries.
Yes, Mr. Clarkson, I think frustration is more dangerous than any pandemic or epidemic. It's very dangerous, and when frustration lasts for long, it builds anger, distrust, and can result to death. And this is exactly what is happening in the Northwest and the Southwest. When my brothers of the same region were frustrated in their peaceful protest by the military response, they ran to the bushes, and haven't been in the bush for months, and now we're talking about 4 to 5 years, and no response. They became more frustrated, and this is the reason why they are gradually picking arms. They began by fighting using sticks and machetes. Today they are fighting with sophisticated weapons, not because they want to fight, but out of frustration. They realized that their homes and their heritage had been burned to ashes. No one responded.
After the fighting,
so finally, I am coming. Finally, they realized that since they have no hope, they should fight for even a day to survive. But like the ambassador rightly said, for how long can we fight? There is need for us to come to the table. There is need for a peaceful and meaningful dialogue. And I'm calling them wherever they are in the bushes, hoping that if the president tender a hand, let them come and let's discuss. Our country still need peace.
Okay, Mba, your last word on this topic before we finally conclude. You just listen to the Ivorian ambassador. What do you have to say? Frustration. He made mention of frustration. He equally made mention of dialogue.
Yeah, on the aspect of dialogue, I congratulate him for that, because in any conflict at the end, you must end up in a dialogue. Then on this issue of frustration, as a Pan-Africanist, I will always say we should be very alert, because most of these Western powers are the one bringing political instability through frustration. When they do that, at the end, we don't have any choice than to, because all our resources have been sent to them, the same colonialism period. So at the end, we are left rather than to be on a frustrated state. So we should try as much as possible to try to see how we can cut some of this link with most of this Western power, because the same colonialism that they did during the past, that is the same thing that is going on now, keeping our country in an instability.
Okay, we are concluding with Alphonse. You know, we have to Alphonse here. Also, what has to conclude? So the Alphonse that has forgiven people, forgiven everything, will conclude. Alphonse, you have the floor. Frustration, dialogue. What do you have to say?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tabi Clausen. I think those words of the Ivorian ambassador to Cameroon, they are very wise words. I was in another set for a debate like this yesterday evening, and those are exactly the words that I use. We're talking about insecurity in Cameroon. You know, this insecurity we have been talking about the Boko Haram, and you know, in the northwest, southwest region, and you know, the main word here is frustration. You know, there is nothing more dangerous like a frustrated person, a hopeless person. You know, he has, you know, has no.
It's more than an epidemic, like
Mr. Kamer was saying, and there's a way out. There is a cure for that, which is called dialogue. You know, when you show that you can be open and that you can listen to somebody who is frustrated, that's the first step to the healing of the person. And I think that is exactly what has been lacking from this government. You know, that has been very contemptive, you know, contentious about the people claiming, because people will be, it's like you have a young boy, your child in the house complaining about something, and instead of you listening to the child, you instead take, you know, a rod and start beating the child, say, shut up.
There's hope. There's hope for a better tomorrow.
Well, let's say so, but do you know, Mr. Tablin, I'm a very optimistic person. That's why I'm telling you that I have forgiven, for instance, for what I went through. But I want to be realistic. We should get out of these slogans and these speeches that we have been hearing in Cameroon. Because in Cameroon, we talk a lot, but
No
in
action.
concrete actions, very less. Talk the case of decentralization, which was supposed to start in 1996. But we have gone down 25 years down the line. There's nothing. But the speeches are there, they keep on talking about decentralization. Today we are talking of that decentralization as if it was a new thing.
Okay.
We should stop talking and we should start acting.
Finally, we say thank you, gentlemen, for coming for this yet another edition of the Republican debate. Take another appointment, same time next week on the same channel. Till then, we say, may the Almighty God continue to bless the Republic.